Now we're going to talk about general equilibrium. We are still analyzing perfectly competitive markets. However, we are not analyzing or focusing only on one good or one market, but we are analyzing the market where more than one good can be traded simultaneously. Well, why is it important? Well, this is important because, when we look at one good, how its price will be determined by the change of its demand, etc. Well, we keep everything else about the other goods fixed, right? I mean, the other goods price, the other goods demands, supplies, etc. fixed. However, what happens in reality, when we change the demand of one good, that's going to change the price of this good, but it also influences the demand or the supply of the other good, if they're related, like perfect substitute or complement. And so that will sort of influence back the initial good. So there's going to be another layer of impact or influence when, for example, the demand of one good changes. So the analysis is not so straightforward as we did in our earlier chapter. So for that reason, we're going to look at what happens if we analyze the market where two or more goods are produced and sold simultaneously, and how their prices influence one another. All right? Well, so we call it general equilibrium analysis. As I said, there are going to be multiple goods. But for most of our discussions, two goods is perfectly enough. So we're going to focus on two good scenario. And again, for simplicity, obviously we're looking for a perfectly competitive market. So many buyers, many sellers, but obviously, many buyers and many sellers case are, highly technical and complicated. So we are going to look at a very, very simpler environment where we're going to have like two sort of players, one buyer, one seller, or maybe both of them are the buyers. So you'll see. But we will reduce the number of players or number of people interacting in this economy to two, because that is sufficient to get the idea of how this market operates. So multiple goods are traded, both and sold and bought. And the price for each good will be determined simultaneously. And obviously, for obvious reasons, we're going to focus on the simplest case first, where production is not allowed. All right? No production. We're going to call it pure exchange economy. Why we call it pure exchange? Well, because the market participants do not produce anything. They're just consumers. All right. But what are they going to be consuming? Well, they're going to be consuming what we call their initial endowments. But the production side of the market is ignored. This is for simplicity. Later, I'm going to bring the production side as well. All right. So, this is still a competitive market, remember, although the number of buyers and or sellers are not large. But it is a competitive market in the sense that we're going to assume that the market participants are going to take the prices as given, right? So the first model for pure exchange economy has two persons. We're going to call them person A or, individual A and individual B. And they trade two goods. Good 1 and good 2, all right? We're not going to call them good X, good Y. You'll see, I'm going to call them good 1 and good 2. Well, the market participants bring some good 1 and some good 2 to this market. So think of this like an island economy where no production, each customer brings some apples and bananas. You probably prefer apple to banana, but you don't have enough of apple. You have a lot of bananas, so you're willing to trade this with the other guy. So this is basically the setup we are constructing. So the initial endowments are denoted by vectors, all right? And this vector has two components because there are two goods. So WA refers to the initial endowment for individual A, and WB is the initial endowment for individual B. So WA consists of two numbers, real numbers, WA1, WA2. That basically indicates how much good one person A brings. So WA1 is the number of good one she brings, and WA2 is the number of good two she brings to this market. WB1 is symmetrically is number of good one person B brings, and WB2 is the number of good two person B brings. So once again, A's and B's are the names of these agents, and 1 and 2 are the numbers, the goods, the name of the goods. So every bundle in the economy is called allocation. So this is a bundle, all right? A basket, a bundle. And every bundle in the economy is called allocation, and we usually denote allocation as such, XA, XB. Well, here, XA is a vector, all right? So this is XA, and this is XB. So I represent an allocation as a vector, but don't forget, each component of this vector is a vector by itself. So XA is a vector, which basically tells me how much good one agent A consumes, how much good two agent A consumes. And symmetrically, these are the agent B's consumption. All right, so here the initial endowment is like, a person A brings some apples and bananas. Person B brings some apples and bananas. They may or may not trade. All right. If they trade, they're going to end up with some allocation. All right. I have a lot of apples, but I want to consume some banana. Here's some apples for you. Give me some bananas. The question is, what's going to be the rate of change? All right. For simplicity, first, we're going to look at the case where there's no money. All right. So there's going to be no price. It's going to be what we call a barter exchange. Meaning you do not buy apples and pay money in returns, but what you do is you buy apples and in return you pay it with the other good you have. If it is banana, you pay it with banana. All right? Okay, so we call an allocation feasible. All right, so not all allocations are feasible. In this market, remember, there's no production. And you cannot, therefore, bring or sort of create new products. What you bring to this market is exactly what is available to consume in this market. So therefore, an allocation is feasible if and only if agent A's consumption of good one and agent B's consumption of good one. So this is basically total demand for good one has to be equal to total supply for good one. What is total supply for good one? Well, remember the initial endowments are the supplies. So therefore, individual A is going to bring some good one. Individual B will also bring some good one. So this is total supply for good one. This is total demand for good one. So the demand and supply must be the same. Otherwise, it is not a feasible allocation. And symmetrically, the same thing must be true for good 2. The total demand for good 2 must be equal to total supply for good 2. All right? Well, here's one thing I would like to underline why we require feasibility. Look, if these equalities do not hold, for example, if this guy is greater than this and this one is equal, what does that mean? These guys would like to consume so much apple and bananas. This is just one good, apple. So these guys would like to consume so much apple, say 10 apples. But the thing is, they already brought total only 5 apples. I mean, I'm sorry, but we don't have that many apples. So you can't consume things that you don't have. Remember, there's no production here. You can't create something out of thin air. So whatever you bring, the total supply, your total demand must be equal to the supply. Well, what if it is less? Well, here you're demanding something less than what you are bringing to this market. Basically, you are wasting some of your products. Is it reasonable? Well, I mean, it is reasonable if you hate apple or bananas. But the thing is, we are going to look at the environments where the utility functions or the preferences are increasing, meaning the more you consume on both goods, the happier you're going to get. So in this case, you do not want to consume less than what you already have. So therefore, you must have exactly, so your demand must be exactly equal to supply. And also remember, this is sort of the idea of a perfectly competitive market, right? Market supply equals market demand. And this is basically the same idea. Market demand is equal to market supply for each good. All right?